Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Animal-Based Dad podcast. This is the show where between my guest interviews with subject matter experts and topic-specific deep dives, the aim is to arm you with actionable insights and information on how to prioritize your metabolic health and improve your overall health and well-being. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Animal-Based Dad podcast. I'm your host, Ricky Duplessis. I've got the fantastic Mr. Toby Swallow back for the third and final installment of our collaborative mini-series together. Welcome back, Toby.
Thanks for having me back, Ricky.
You're most welcome. So, Toby, so far we've covered why movement is important to us. We've covered what movement does for us. And what I would like to do today is talk about where to start. So before we started recording, you and I were talking, you mentioned the fact Christmas is basically upon us. I'm already seeing mince pies in the shelves at the supermarket, which is ridiculous. It's only October. But what I see year in and year out is people will overindulge over the festive period. And then without fail, the gyms will be rammed in the first week of January. And you've got the whole New Year's resolution crowd that comes through. For all the right motivations, for all the right will, people will dive into it, but they'll do it wrong, inevitably. The majority of them will either hurt themselves or overtrain and put themselves off. And there's a lack of understanding of how to go about going from not really doing much exercise, if anything at all, to now including exercise in your daily sort of lifestyle. I wonder if you might walk us through some practical ways that a person can go about that such that they don't overdo it, they don't hurt themselves, but they allow their body to adjust and adapt in proper increments to build that into a sustainable lifestyle. So they avoid that classic New Year's resolution pattern of burnout and give up within the first 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, okay. Before I dive into the specifics on this, the point you made about New Year, I think, is really relevant here in terms of there's this level of overcommitment. And that's not in the amount that the people are doing, but that's rather in the form of intensity. So they're doing too much too soon, and that's just not sustainable. So they either get burnt out, particularly as we get older, the likelihood of injury seems to increase as well. That's really common. So come February and certainly March, the gyms are all kind of back to normal.
Back to the core.
And we see this with diets as well, where people sort of launch into 2nd of January. They've ate all the mince pies, the Christmas cake, and downed all the whiskey and all the rest of it. And it's like, right, hard on the diet. See a lot of success in the first 4 to 6 weeks of weight loss. And that's usually lack of just glycogen depletion in the muscle. It's water loss. It's a little bit of fat loss, but it's not the fat loss that they're hoping for. Kind of hit a wall. Stuck, they can't get over that wall for 2 or 3 weeks, and so they go, oh, sod it, and they're back into their normal ways of eating. They've not actually learned anything there. So consistency, like with everything else in life, is king. It trumps everything else. So we can't make up for a lack of consistency through intensity. Yes. So it's not about doing something for 6 weeks, 12 weeks. I'm going to train really hard, diet really hard for the beach body holiday that I want. Come the summertime next year. It's look at this as a 10, 20 year effort. It's a lifetime effort rather than a sprint. So marathon would be a better thing here. So where to start? First of all, I think we need to establish point A. We need to get really, really real on where we are and then take a good strip off in front of a full-length mirror, whether you're a man or a woman, do it privately. Take a good, hard, honest look in the mirror. If you think you're okay as you are, jump up and down. Anything wiggles, then or jiggles, you're not okay. But fundamentally, more than that, I want to suggest certainly the age brackets that I work with, 50s and 60s, and a few people in their 40s, get an assessment. We need to understand how you move.
This episode is brought to you by Biosim Technologies,
At Biosim Technologies, my team and I are creating intelligent, AI-driven solutions for human metabolic health, which empower our users to embrace a biology-first approach to their lifestyle, health, and wellness. We're getting ready for a crowdfunding campaign, which launches on Cyber Monday. The crowdfunding is to help us fund our beta development of our psychology-enhanced nutrition coach. To find out more, please follow the link to the Biosim Technologies Substack in the episode description, where you can sign up for our newsletter, receive our regular updates, and all the details on the up-and-coming event.
If we start focusing on improvement, and a lot of people think, I know what I'm doing, I can do this myself. Again, going back to the New Year's resolution, burnout or injury, the older we get, the more likely that is to happen. So we actually need to address a lot of things that you may not be aware of in how your body is moving. So chasing performance improvements built on dysfunction, is you're just going to topple over, and it's a matter of when, not if. And it's also taking a good, honest look at sleep and your pre-bed routine. I know there's a huge amount in the space, and every man and their dog is kind of posting about my morning routine, whether they're sort of rising at silly o'clock and I'm sunning myself with the morning sunlight and my weird concoction of greens and all the other stuff that goes into that. Actually, nobody's talking about a pre-bed routine to help wind down for a sound night's sleep. So prioritize sleep. Steps. We've talked about walking every day. Really low.
Sorry, Toby, before we move on to steps, I think you've touched on something important there. So we're talking about circadian rhythm. Let's use the example of everyone who's posting about their morning routine, and they're talking about rising with the sun, getting that early morning light, setting your circadian clock and your suprachiasmatic nucleus. That's a little center of your brain that controls all of this, and getting the right start to your day. And it puts your metabolism and everything like that, your full metabolic function in the correct sort of sequence, for lack of a better expression. But you've touched on something that you're correct. No one else seems to be talking about, is that there's another end to that circadian rhythm. And it's not just about the waking and the rising. There's also the setting and getting ready for bed, and the back end of that rhythm, which is just as important.
Yeah, and so many of us lead stressful lives. Between the ages of 44, 64 are the most stressful times of our life. You're kind of a peak career there, so that brings stress in itself. You've got growing children who bring on new demands.
Yes, children are stressful.
Aging parents with their own health problems, that brings on stress. There's also financial commitments, and it's not just about the mortgage. Maybe you want to help your kids out going to university. It may be buying their first car, or saving a deposit for to contribute to their first flat or home. Again, for many people, the threat of unemployment is very real at this time of life as well, particularly in the current climate. And the older we get, you're thinking, shit, I'm old. Nobody wants to take on an old person. They want a young buck. Yeah, so there's as well as this is where we start to see our own health problems come through. And this can be the subtle things, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. Maybe you're not quite there yet for medication, but you're edging up that way. You don't know how to really control that or take back control. So having the ability to wind down the nervous system, wind down your head and your body at the end of the day, really important to set yourself up. And a lot of people turn to alcohol at the end of the day.
I used to be one of them.
But whilst that may help the onset of sleep, it's widely known now that it does disrupt the quality of your sleep.
Yes.
So if we're serious about health, there is no evidence to suggest that alcohol is healthy for mental, physical, emotional health. Okay, so realistically here, if you're going to have alcohol, save it for a special occasion, a birthday, a special gathering. I'm not saying no, but on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis, let's be an adult about this and knock it on its head.
Yeah.
So we need a better way of relaxation. Reading, journaling, bit of yoga, cuddle time with the kids. That can work the other way with stress, depending upon the family dynamics as well. Yeah, let's face it. But it could even be mundane tasks like doing the washing up and folding up laundry and putting it away. Something that doesn't require an awful lot of brain power. That's going to stimulate you. Reading is awesome. But we're now drawn into Netflix. So
I was going to say TV is horrendous because everyone wants to sit and just vegetate in front of the screen. But
I want to say no blue screens that hour before bed. And if it's impossible, it's not just blue screens, it's the LED lights we now fit to our ceiling. So if you do have to, or you can't avoid that, then I'll show you, just to demonstrate through example, a pair of blue light blocking glasses. To just get rid of that blue light. So setting yourself up for a sound night of sleep is absolutely imperative. And I know you know this, Ricky, but a poor night of sleep, it's going to set off ghrelin and where we're unable to make better food choices. We're going to be very reactive. Yes, the world.
It's not just the food; it's everything. And any new parent will have experienced this and know this. And it's weird how people will listen to exactly what I've just said there, and they'll chuckle to themselves, parents, because they'll remember the newborn stage where they had really severely disrupted sleep, and it was acute. The impact that has, it's very, very drastic, very stark. But what people tend to be numb towards is the low grade degradation of sleep. And you tend to dismiss that as, it's just part of life, and you don't take as much notice of it. But it's just as important, because if you have low grade degradation of your sleep, well, it low grade affects everything else. And if that's sustained long term, that's chronic. And chronic is what becomes the real problem.
Increasing risk of cardiovascular related diseases, Alzheimer's, we've got type 2 diabetes in there, and a whole host of other things as well. So getting that sleep is imperative. And we are, I think, pretty much the only species that delays the onset of sleep to pursue something else. Yes. And so, look, just another episode of this Netflix series, or look, I just want to catch up with my wife. I just get these emails done. So we go to bed later and later, but most of us have to get up at a certain time to start our day. And you're right. It's this slow sleep deprivation over a long period of time that has its consequences. We all have the bad nights now and again. That makes you human. Let's accept that. But pushing it back, thinking that actually come the weekend, I'll make up for it.
You don't.
Actually, what I think the new research is showing, going to bed at the same time, getting up at the same time within half an hour of each other, 7 days a week, long term, is probably more important than your solid 8 hours. Yes. So just because we're getting 4 hours in the week, we can't make up for it at the weekend.
No, you don't. There's no such thing as catching up for it. It becomes a game of consistency. And you're right. Having a routine is hugely important. For example, I make sure to be in bed somewhere between 10 and half 10 in the evenings. And I'm up at 5 in the morning every day, 7 days a week. Doesn't matter whether I'm on holiday or not on holiday. That's when I wake up. And it's not an alarm waking me up, because I know, and it's annoying, because you'll wake up naturally yourself, roll over, have a look, and it's 2 minutes until your alarm goes off, and you're like,
Yeah. So that's the sleep. Moving on to walking and steps. It's not just about getting your steps in. We definitely want to be accumulating activity throughout the day, and steps are an important part of that. But I want to encourage people to get out and walk at pace for at least half an hour is better. I've picked up a study earlier this week, actually, which includes looking at just under 500,000 people who walked at the pace of 5 miles an hour for an hour, and the effects on overall health, and not just overall health, but longevity as well. Now, it's not to say that you will live longer if you walk those 5 miles. Sorry, as I knock my laptop and it wobbles. But it's a low barrier to entry, and it's low level effort that's required to do that. It's not hard exercise. If you're inactive, walking may be classed as exercise for you, but if you are fit, it's not really exercise. But get out there, and again, it's going to help you recover from exercise. Great for managing stress.
So just sorry, you said there was 5 miles per hour was the pace that they walked at, because that's quite a pace, isn't it? That's brisk.
It's a brisk pace, but actually, if we really think about it, is it that fast?
Seems quite fast.
If you're not used to it, yes. If you're not particularly fit, yes, it is. But realistically, 5 miles in an hour, sorry, not 5 miles, 5 kilometers in an hour, which is 3.3
that makes much more sense.
Sorry, 3.2 miles, 5 kilometers. I beg your pardon.
Okay, yeah. No, all right, yeah, fine. Which is still a brisk walk, but it's like 5 miles an hour is like almost running.
Yes. So getting that in, and it's a low load effort.
Yeah.
If we look at the NHS and the World Health Organization minimum recommendation of strength training, resistance training, 2 days a week minimum. Realistically, a well-designed program, we don't need more than 3 days a week.
Yeah.
Okay. The flip side to that is cardiorespiratory training, and I'm talking running, rowing, cycling, something like that, a cyclical activity, something that we can maintain. We want 150 minutes minimum a week. So 3 days, 50 minutes a time. It might be you go out and do a 4-hour cycle ride at the weekend. Great. What about in the week?
Yeah. And again, like with the sleep concept, just being active, like getting in extreme activity on a weekend, doesn't negate the inactivity through the week. It's about what's consistent in your lifestyle. If you're consistently inactive, that's what informs your health outcomes. If you're consistently active, that's what informs your health outcomes. You can't catch up for your inactivity by being overly active on the weekend.
Yeah, so those massive heroic efforts again. Yeah. I'm not saying if you shouldn't go out and explore the hills, the mountains with your mates or the family. Go and do that, but it's the stuff in the week.
100%.
And whether it's resistance training or whether it's cardiorespiratory exercise, it needs to be progressive. Yes, it's not about going as hard as you can. It's not about getting your heart rate up as high as you can. We have different zones, different levels of intensity. So the guideline for both is going to be 80% of what you do should be around 70% intensity. That's zone 2 of the heart rate zones. And then strength training, 70% is a really nice, sustainable loading level there to work strength, but definitely not affecting your form, because what we see is, particularly with the guys, they go too hard, form suffers. And I hear and say all the time, but it's with perfect form. And I'm like, I've seen the video.
No,
what's
it's not
perfect about this? So I want to get people on their feet as well with resistance training. We can't compare a leg extension to a leg press to a squat. We are bipedal beings. We want to be on our feet. We need to be loading the axial skeleton. So we need to be loading the spine, the pelvis, and the bones in our leg for that bone density.
Yeah.
We want to be getting back to improving our end ranges. So think about getting into a deep squat. If you can't get into a deep squat, to a degree, squatting more would help you. But if you're missing, for example, internal rotation, and that's your limiting factor, we need to do some specific work for that.
Yeah.
So again, I'm going to come back to this is the purpose of an assessment to establish point A, and that forms the basis of program design, nutrition design, nutrition habits, and all of these types of things that go around that.
Yeah.
Yes. Get your joints moving through a full range of motion, but what does that mean? Again, a lot of people don't know the range of their joints. So I'm going to take let me show you. I'm going to take the knee joint. We assume the knee joint is a simple hinge joint, but your shin bone actually rotates as well. Yes, we've got internal, external rotation of the shin. So, and I'm not trying to overcomplicate this for people, but we oversimplify exercise by saying, I've said before, just move more and eat less. Yeah. Once we get into the nuance of this, it's not as simple as people make it out to be. So I want to say, don't be a loner. Work with somebody for this. Yes, but just like in business, we might have mentors and coaches for our success. It's no different in sport. Great athletes have coaches and mentors. Great sports teams have athletes and coaches. Coaches have coaches. But your average guy, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, no, you don't.
So with that, I want to challenge, and it's particularly men, raise your standards.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I like you said in the first episode, standards, right? Movement standards. And it comes back to your point about assessments. I think that it would be helpful for people to educate themselves as to what the standards for movement are. And we're not talking about your PR squat or your PR bench press. We're talking about just taking your joints through their full range of motion. Can you sit cross-legged on the floor? Can you get up from that position?
Yeah,
just
so
standard things.
Yeah, on LinkedIn, I don't post exercises. I post movement tests, movement standards. The sit to rise test is a great one. A resting squat would be another one. And people think, oh, I can't do that. I need to stretch more. Generally, no. We need better mobility. And strength can be a real issue for people as well without actually realizing it. If we look at muscle groups, 70% of your muscle mass is centered around your legs, your hips, and your spine. So 70% of your resistance training should be around those groups. Whereas if I look at most people who send me a training program, it's chest, it's back, it's biceps, it's shoulders. It's everything I see in the mirror. You know, I'm doing 1,000 crunches a day, but I still don't have abs. It's what about the important parts of the body to actually help you move as a human being? So again, that assessment will look at not just about how well you move, but strength deficits, look at cardiorespiratory performance. We can look at other factors. Do you know what? BMI by itself, BMI is a useful tool as a predictor of risk.
Yeah.
But so is a waist to hip ratio.
I prefer the waist to hip ratio.
Yes, but just like in business, we can't just look at one KPI. We need to look at a range.
Yeah.
Yes. So we need to look at a number of different KPIs to understand where we are. I do believe one of the mistakes that we make is we look at performance KPIs. Oh, I've just run a 23-minute 5K. Great. Well done. How quickly can you recover from that? Yes. What is your VO2 max? Because you can actually, through just sheer will, do that with just an incredible...
And then be wrecked for the rest of the day and unable to do anything else.
Yeah, you might hurt yourself in the process or may not be able to run again for another week because it takes you so long to recover. So there's a range of things that we need to look at. And again, it just reinforces the point of training is not about heroic effort. I would rather view training as a development process of celebrating what your body is capable of, looking to improve yourself over time. And what does that mean? To be fit, you don't need to run a marathon.
Yeah.
A lot of people will run a marathon, they're fitter, but not actually fit. The longer we go in endurance events, the more mentally demanding it is, and it's more of a case of how much you're willing to suffer with those types of.
And that's true.
Yes. So if you were to say to somebody, I've just run a marathon, they will be congratulated by everyone saying, oh, that's incredible because I can't see myself running that. But if I said to you, Ricky, I've just run 100 meters, you're probably going to laugh at me thinking, so what? Because you can imagine yourself doing that. But how quickly did you run that?
Yeah, I was going to say, I'd ask you how fast.
Right. So if I was to say, look, a 4-hour marathon, most people say, oh, that's pretty quick, but it's twice the world record. But if I said, look, I've just run a 19-second 100 meters, you're probably going to roll around the floor laughing. Yes, but that's twice the world record. Yes.
Yeah.
So fitness isn't about one thing, it's about lots of things. Being healthy isn't just about exercise, it's about a combination of things. When it comes to food, we definitely need to eat more protein. And the older we get, we need to eat more protein.
Yeah.
Eat more meat, eat more animal-based products. But I also want to say eat more fiber. And so eat more fruit and veg. Why? Look, fiber is not an essential macronutrient.
Correct.
Yes. But long term, it does look like an essential macronutrient because it has an inverse relationship with cardiovascular related diseases and also some cancers. So the lower your fiber intake, the greater your risk of those diseases. The more you eat, the lower the risk. And it's really hard. There's so much evidence on that. It's really kind of hard to dispute that. So short term, do we need fiber? No. But long term, if we're looking at health, I would say we want to be eating more fiber.
I think it comes down to how you approach the diet. And then what I'll get to is if your diet is whole food based, so I would say animal based, low carb, whole foods, fiber is not a concern. I'm not concerned about whether I'm getting much fiber, if anything at all. However, if my diet is high carb or even moderate carb, and there's some processed stuff in there, then the protective mechanisms of fiber, let's take sugar, for example, why eating whole fruit is better for you than blending your fruit up in a smoothie and thinking you're getting everything like that. The fiber actually binds up and prevents the absorption of some of that glucose and lowers the glycemic load on the body.
Yes.
So I agree with you for the standard sort of approach to diet that we have in today's modern age. Definitely there's a strong correlation between increased fiber and improved health outcomes. But I also think the converse is true. If your animal-based low-carb whole foods is the makeup of your diet on a consistent basis, I don't think fiber factors into it much.
But we don't have any long-term evidence of that at the moment.
Or we have human evolution as the long-term evidence.
That's interesting because human evolution, we've eaten it from a wide variety of sources. And that's been based on survival.
Correct.
Because we would hunt, we would eat meat, but also we would scavenge. So that might also mean eating rotting meat.
Which is why we have the stomach pH that we do.
Yeah. But there would be berries, which is seasonal. There would be roots and shoots.
And that's the point I'm getting to, is all plant matter pre-industrial revolution was seasonal.
So in terms of fiber, and I think going back to, as you said, the whole food approach, definitely. Does this have to be organic? Does it have to be fresh? Look, go and eat some steak, go and eat some chicken, go and eat fish, go and eat eggs. But equally, your veggies as well. And the fruits. And I'm not talking about eating your grapes, which are just more almost akin in many ways, but go and eat the rainbow in both fruits and vegetables. But eat fruits and agree with you, don't drink it. eat your calories rather than drink them.
Yeah.
But equally as well, in today's lifestyle, I think our eating habits are also very important in terms of portion control is a huge thing. And I think let's use the packets of microwavable rice as an example here. That's 2 portions of rice, but so many people will have one packet
that on their own.
plate. But that's 2 portions or for 2 people. So it's easy to overconsume that. So portion control is very important as well, but eat away from your desk, eat away from the TV, sit around a dining table, be mindful about what you're eating.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of intuitive eating, and then through my own research into human biology and trying to figure out how to sort my eating out, what I've settled into is I make sure to eat the stuff that is most what I will call species appropriate. So the stuff that is most consistently been with us throughout our evolution. And in so doing, I can rely on my hunger and satiety signaling, my inherent are you hungry, are you satisfied hormones to tell me whether it's time to eat or whether I don't need to eat right now. So I practically never eat breakfast. I almost never eat lunch, but I'll eat a big meal in the early evening. So I'll feast in the early evening on a big portion of something, and then I won't eat again for another 18 to 24 hours. On days where I'm particularly active, I will be probably a little bit hungrier the next day. So maybe I'll split that into 2 smaller meals, but it'll be within a sort of 2 to 4 hour period of each other. And then again, I won't eat for the next 18 to 24 hours. So,
see, I recommend the opposite here. 3 meals a day, breakfast of a king, lunch of a prince, dine like a pauper, which will help with sleep. So we're front loading our calories for the day, and we're using those calories that we're having throughout the day rather than storing them elsewhere in the body because they're not being used at night. And proteins, fats, carbohydrates, definitely, because the more we train, the more energy we're going to need. And so if I was to go back to cardio 3 days, strength training 2 to 3 days, that's a 5-6 day training plan every a week. And it's actually easier to train 6 days a week than it is 3 days a week. Because it becomes part of your daily routine. If you're only doing something a few days a week, you're trying to find the time to do that thing rather than having made time. So training 6 days a week, you don't need any more than an hour of time. That's easier because it becomes a repeat every single day. And I think there's a point there, and I think I mentioned this briefly on our last conversation, Ricky, in terms of, I know so many people say, oh, but I don't have time for that. Well, there's a few things here. One, it's not important to you. The other point is that you're probably super organized and prepared in your day job, in your career. But when it comes to private life or outside of work, bit of a shit show, and life just seems chaotic, from being taxi driver for the kids, and maybe you've got the shopping to do, the housework, maintenance, and seeing friends at the weekend and all the other bits. Just need better planning. Long term, certainly for most professionals, the best time to train is first thing in the morning. Get it done. It's done for the day, and it's not something that if your day runs away from you that you have to think about later, because long term, one of the things that happens is day runs away from you. Exercise is the thing that we knock off the table.
100%.
It falls off. Yes. So make it a non-negotiable. Make good food a non-negotiable rather than that a few times a week token effort. I've never viewed exercise as a hobby. I was in a conversation at the weekend with a few friends, and we're talking about hobbies. And my friend said, yeah, go to the gym, play squash and tennis, football, whatever it is. But hobbies are something that we do when we have time and the inclination.
Yeah.
So let's look at exercise and good quality food as a prerequisite for good health, not an optional extra, something nice to do when I have time.
Yeah.
So we need better planning with this. We need a strategy to fit it all in and make it sustainable, not just for a few weeks or a few months, but on repeat, month after month, year after year, decade after
Yeah, it
decade.
needs to be lifestyle. It has to be a core part of what you do because it's part of what makes you who you are.
Yes. Off the back of that, we also need a way to decompress, to manage our stress. Modern life is incredibly stressful, difficult. We can't dress that up. I know a lot of people, again, particularly guys, after a hard day at work, they might go and hit the heavy bag, fast run, smash some weights. But that stress on the body also,
Yeah.
that it then has to recover from. So one stress doesn't cancel out another stress. So exercise is incredibly potent, but it's like a drug. It's the dose that makes the medicine here. Okay. So having a way to release that stress, and it might be just going for a walk. It is movement, but low dose, low intensity. Good mental, we've said before, I won't go into it again on why that will work. It could be journaling, it could be a bit of meditation, it might be prayer if you're religious, or breath work. There are lots of different things that you can do. It might be your knitting, it might be a bit of PlayStation if that's your thing. But find something to release the stress that isn't alcohol related, drug related, and that's going to beat you up. Yeah, so you don't snap at the kids or you don't snap at your spouse.
Yeah.
We've all done that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
But we end up feeling like crap afterwards. Like, that's not you. That was me. Really sorry about that. Yeah. And then outside of that, have a hobby. And it doesn't matter if it's pickleball or five-a-side football or hiking at the weekend. Maybe you want to do that longer bike ride or that longer hike. Fantastic. Get outside, do something. We need more natural light. And it's not just about circadian rhythm.
It goes way deeper than that. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I want to encourage people to, I said it before about raising standards. It's about raising not just your personal standards, but find out the established standards, certainly around fitness, around body fat levels. Yes. Being overweight is the new norm where people are saying, look, I'm all right as I am. No, you're under muscled, you're over fat.
Yeah.
Can't dress that up. I've seen on Instagram in the last couple of years, a number of PTs, some really highly respected ones, have been talking about fitness standards, everything from pull-ups and how much you should be able to squat, deadlift, farmer carry, a 5K run, vertical jump, and all of this. And there are a few small variations, but they're all fairly similar. But looking at the comments is telling, where people are saying, that's unachievable, that's unrealistic. You've got to be a super athlete. No, these aren't athlete levels. These are this is low stuff. Let's not excuse the fact that you haven't done the work. Now, for some people, you might not need to do an awful lot of work, or you might meet those standards very quickly. For others, it might take you an awful long time. It doesn't mean those standards aren't relevant or aren't important. So we need to raise our own standards but also admit I'm not there yet. I just need to work harder and longer to get there.
Yeah. A great analogy for what you're describing is military acceptance tests. Now, people will look at that. You and I are both in the UK. If we were to go look at the Army or the Royal Navy or the Royal Air Force and look at their acceptance fitness test, the average desk jockey adult today looks at that and goes, I can't do that.
Yeah.
But what they don't seem to appreciate, and the mindset I want people to get their heads wrapped around is that is the bare minimum standard they need you to be at in order for your training to then begin.
Yes.
That's not having arrived. You're not then military fit. That's just basic standard bottom line foundational fitness upon which they then build you up from there.
Yeah.
And people just look at it as if, well, that's the standard to achieve, like that's the end goal. It's not the end goal, it's the starting point.
And to do that, sometimes we need to venture out or further afield to be around people who have higher standards and higher achievements than ourselves. And I'll give you an example. So years ago, my bench press in powerlifting was my nemesis, if you like. Yeah. I'm narrow in the shoulders, shallow rib cage, longer arms. I was a natural deadlifter. Squat took a huge amount of effort to get up, but really squat and deadlift, I had fantastic numbers, but bench lagged behind. I needed to bench more, so I was benching 6 days a week. And then I would, once a month, I would travel further, and I'd do a 2.5 mile round trip to go and bench with a guy who was benching 250 kilos. Within the space of 18 months, my bench, and this is after 20 years of training, had gone up 40 kilos.
Okay.
Because all of a sudden, instead of being around guys who are benching 120s, 140s, yeah, I was now working with guys who are benching 200 session in, session out. Yeah. That was the norm, and it changes your attitude. Yeah. A part of when I was on the England squad, there was a squat club, but the minimum entry point was a 270 kilo squat. Yeah, you squat with guys that are squatting 350s and 400s, 400 pluses. All of a sudden, those 200 kilo squats, like that's a warm-up weight.
Warm-up, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, and I was the lightest guy there at 75 kilos. So training with people who are better than you, that much better than you, will take you that much further. If you think you are the fastest runner in your club, find another running club. If you think you're the strongest guy in your gym, go and find another gym. If you think you're the leanest guy in your gym, go and train amongst bodybuilders, your competitive bodybuilders. And all of a sudden you'll realize, I'm not where I thought I was. Yeah. So we need that challenge.
You're describing a very common principle in life here, because most people will understand this from a career and a business perspective, because the same principle is true. If you want to be successful, you surround yourself with the type of people who are successful and are at the point where you are hoping to get to. If you're in a circle and the core people that you spend your time with are at the same level as you're at now or below that, you're not going to progress. You're going to stagnate. You're going to stay where you are. In order for you to progress in career, in business, in life, you surround yourself by people that are doing better, that are further along, that are at the level that you're hoping to strive towards.
Yes.
Physical standards is the same.
It's so powerful. The element here is that, and particularly with guys, if you speak to any guy, and it doesn't matter if they exercise or not, they will class themselves as pretty fit, strong. By what standard? And we'll find that the majority don't reach any given or established standard on that. But again, this is what it comes back to, and I make no apologies for repeating myself here. We need to raise our own standards, because we know that more people are exercising than ever before. There are more boot camps, yoga classes, spin classes, gym memberships, all great. But our physical well-being is dropping because it's based on entertainment. It's based on that dopamine hit.
Yeah.
It's a hobby rather than looking at, where do I need to get?
Yeah.
So, and you don't need to go to the extreme ends here.
No.
I can remember back in my teens, Ricky, in gyms, there were 3 numbers: 300 pounds, 400 pounds, 500 pounds as a base level to call yourself strong. So a 300 pound bench, 400 pound squat, 500 pound deadlift. That was based on a 200 pound man. I was 10 stone at the time. At no point did I think, oh, I'm light, so it doesn't apply to me. That's too much. But my teenage brain was like, what have I got to do to get to those numbers?
Yeah.
Once I hit those numbers, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
Yes. So challenge yourself and be around better people. And it's no different with our eating habits. I think what we do is we hear the person in the office, oh, I'm on this diet and it's great because I just lost 10 pounds. Oh, what diet are you on? Yeah, I must give that a go as well. Because actually we think, yeah, I only need to lose 10 pounds, then I'm as good as you. But this person is still very overweight.
Mhm.
It seems relatable because actually that's achievable. And I think that's a problem that we have. We have people now, again, with standards of, yes, I go to the gym 5 days a week and I can tell you how to get strong, but they're not strong. But the numbers that they're giving is relatable to a lot of people because, oh, I only need to lift another 20 kilos and
Yeah.
then I'm really strong. Why are we taking dietary advice from people who have never been lean
Mm.
and metabolically healthy?
Mm.
Why are we taking strength advice from people who have never been strong? Why are we taking fitness advice from people who've never been very fit?
Yeah.
But that's where we are.
Yeah, you're onto something that I just want to highlight here because you talk about normal, and what I don't think most people realize is that normal is not the standard to strive towards. So let's look at blood tests just as a good analogy because I think this one it certainly hit home for me, and I think a lot more people will relate to it. So if you go and have your blood markers done, let's take for men, you go get your testosterone levels tested. It'll give you the range that you fall in, like it'll give you your numbers, and then it'll give the range and it'll tell you what normal is. But what they don't tell you is that normal is just the common range for the last 2,000 people that have been tested. There's a stark difference between normal and optimal. Normal is not the same as optimal.
And how do you feel when we look at testosterone? How do you feel at that? Because you might feel amazing and be really energetic you're on the lower end of that range, but you could feel like crap even though you're on the higher end of that range.
Yeah.
But even if, on the line of blood tests, yes. If you're over 40, go and get a private blood test done. They're relatively inexpensive once a year. Know your numbers and look for trends.
Yeah.
Are they worsening or are they improving? Because doesn't matter what exercise you're doing. If you're trending in the wrong direction,
Yeah.
it will become a problem. So it's an opportunity to take a lifestyle intervention. And exercise, I think, is sold at the moment as this panacea. So many people I've mentioned before are doing more exercise. Great, but it doesn't mean that they're healthy.
Then everything else is out of whack. Yeah.
When you're not sleeping, when it's founded on a crappy lifestyle of poor sleep, crappy food. Oh, but I have a chicken salad for lunch. Yeah, and what about the snacks and all the other rubbish you're eating as well?
This was classic me. This was me in pre-2018. Exercise because that's always been part of my lifestyle. I've always been an active guy. It was just how I grew up. It was part of the sort of rite of passage. You did various things that kept you active. It's never been a question in my mind whether I need to include exercise or not. I've always had it as part of my lifestyle. But everything else was terrible. Sleep was terrible. My diet was atrocious. I didn't look after myself. I had no clue about circadian rhythm or anything like that. And I was getting unhealthier and unhealthier and unhealthier, and I was suffering despite my exercise. And as much as I tried to exercise more, it wasn't offsetting the rest. So, like you say, it's not a panacea. It's not going to fix everything else. You've got to bring the whole lifestyle into sync.
Exercise is a powerful tool, and we need to use the right tool for the right job with exercise. I'm adamant about that. But it doesn't replace a crappy lifestyle. And we see people, I see it every day on LinkedIn, on Instagram, where people posting the calories that they've burnt from exercise. Exercise is terrible for burning calories. Exercise is we're looking for a physiological adaptation to getting stronger or fitter. If you want to control calories, do that through your nutrition. That's far more effective. You want to look, a medium, have I got one here? A medium-sized apple is roughly 100 calories. Yeah. To burn 100 calories requires a lot of work. Actually, not having that apple today, there's 100 calories saved.
Yeah.
Or we go and do some sort of exercise, and on the way home, right, I deserve that takeaway. Don't deserve anything.
No, that's exactly how I used to be. I used to put in the physical effort, and therefore felt that because I put in physical effort today, I could eat what I wanted.
Yeah.
And that worked for me through my 20s when I still had the elixir of youth on my side. But as I hit my late 20s into my 30s, it was quite obvious that wasn't working.
Yeah.
And that I needed to fix things. And I like to, the analogy that I use is that your metabolic health is a complex jigsaw puzzle. There's many pieces to it, but there's 5 major pieces. And exercise is one of those pieces, but you've got to, like with any jigsaw puzzle, to get the complete picture, you've got to get all the puzzle pieces in place.
You describe it as a picture puzzle. I describe it as a Rubik's Cube.
Yeah.
Because to make one side, if we only focus on one side, we've forgotten the other 5 sides. Yeah. So actually, it's the interconnecting pieces. And sometimes in order to access one side, I need to let another side of that cube go to get all of the sides together. So it is a puzzle to solve. And it's, in principle, it's simple, but the more we get into it, the more complex it becomes. What is hard is consistency over time.
Yes.
And we're in a place where people say, well, I tried, great, I do something is better than nothing. But I think I mentioned on our first conversation, great, we've done that story to death. We now need to raise our game. We need to raise our standards and do more. Are you meeting the minimum requirements, not just doing something?
Yeah.
Yes, once you've achieved the minimum, let's go beyond that. And I believe fitness, and there are different facets of fitness, it's an enabler. Money provides you with options. It doesn't make you happy, but it does provide you with options. Not only is it financial security, but maybe it's going to be that nicer holiday. Maybe it's going to be those you can afford to do more life experiences, go further, faster, and do more with it. Exercise is no different. It doesn't make you happy, but it allows you to do more with less effort. Yes. And it's not just about now or next year. This is about the next 10, 20, 30, 40, and even 50 years. So it's been predicted that up to 50% of the UK population by 2050 will be obese. Those numbers are shocking.
Yeah.
And most of us are on that journey. You may not be obese at the moment, but you're moving that way, because we don't notice that kilogram of weight gain over the course of the year, but over 10 years, that's 10 kilograms. And then we blame age. Well, no, it wasn't. It's just your habits, your lifestyle. And we need to get out of that, or move away from it's personal to us as an individual. And take back responsibility. Okay, I screwed up, but I also then have the ability, the potential to improve myself. So let's be responsible for our physical health. And there are only 2 certainties in life. There's tax and death. Living a healthy lifestyle doesn't guarantee that you'll never get ill, you'll never get injured, but it is about risk mitigation.
I frame it slightly differently, and I like what you're onto there, because many people, and I've had people argue with me online about this, eating a certain way, exercising a certain way, building a lifestyle which is focused around your health and your well-being is not a bulletproof vest. It doesn't mean that you're never going to get ill. It doesn't mean that you're never going to face negative health outcomes. I've had people who have been incredibly active and looked after themselves, but still found themselves with cancer, unfortunately, and had to deal through that journey and go through it. It's not, you don't look at, metabolic health and the associated lifestyle patterns as a protection from ever facing these things. These things may still happen to you, but the better way to look at all of this is you're setting the foundation from which your body can recover and adjust and adapt. So you will still face seasonal illness. You may be unfortunate enough to face something more serious due to genetic factors or things beyond your control. You may be in a catastrophic car accident, whatever the case may be. The difference in recovery between a person who is metabolically healthy versus a person who is metabolically unhealthy is night and day. And that's the way I like to frame it.
It also improves survivability. So should something happen to you, and touch wood, doesn't happen, but you have that severe car accident, the fitter you are, it increases your survival rate. If you were to have some sort of awful disease, it improves your survivability. Again, there's no guarantees here, but it does improve your odds. That's it. So this is about risk mitigation, and it's asking ourselves the question, so I'm saving financially for a retirement, I'm planning for a retirement, whether you're putting that into property, into a company pension, investments, doesn't matter. You believe in the future, but will you have the physical health to enjoy the retirement that you're working so hard for? And I use a phrase of physical bankruptcy. Most of us, and men are worse off than women, are heading towards physical bankruptcy in our later lives. And that's the frightening thing. And I post a lot of statistics on LinkedIn, and I do get accused of fear mongering. And unfortunately, my message is misunderstood. No, I'm not trying to fearmonger. I'm trying to raise awareness because you have the choice to change your course here. We can't continue burying our head in the sand, pretending that we're okay as we are. Yes. 100%. And I don't think I'm okay as I am. My health, my fitness is rented every single day. So every choice I make is a move towards better health or towards poorer health. Some of those choices will be better than others. But am I continually working towards that? And I know in the fitness industry, there's a percentage of 80% compliance that's thrown around. If you can just exercise 80% of the time, you're on a winning streak. If you're 80% compliant with your nutrition, you're doing really well. But actually, if you turned up to work 80% of the time, I'm sure HR will be having a conversation with you fairly soon. If you only achieved 80% of your KPIs or your targets in the workplace, your boss is going to be having a stern conversation with you. You're an underperformer at 80%. What if you only paid 80% of your mortgage on a monthly basis? I was faithful to my partner 80% of the time. All right, that's a bit ridiculous there, all right? But anywhere else in life, 80%.
It's not quite hitting the mark.
Is not accepted. So again, it comes back to we need to raise our standards, raise our game. We need to come to the table. We need to accept, look, I'm not in a great position. Because acceptance and that realization of line in the sand, helps us to move forward. To move forward, part of that line in the sand, establish point A, get an assessment. Yes, don't try and gamify it. Enjoying what you do is important, but I would rather encourage people in time learn to fall in love with the process. Because if we're chasing the dopamine hit and enjoyment, just because you enjoyed a session today doesn't mean to say it was a productive session. Yes, because this is about a long-term strategy. So yes, we want to kind of like what we do, but actually, if you're able to do more in life, and that's what fitness should do, enable you to do more outside of the gym, then really those benefits outweigh any thoughts or feelings you have over the work that you did or didn't do. So I have a different approach to what's out there in mainstream, but I've been doing this longer than most as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just like at work, you have a bad night's sleep, you still go into work. You got shit going on with the family, but you still got to go into work.
Yep.
Life is happening around you, but you still got to go into work. You have that mindset already. You have the ability to organize and schedule. Take that approach and apply it to structured exercise, your nutrition, your sleep, your stress management. Be the cultural architect of the family. You can drive change of your family's health direction as well. And take ownership for the food. If you're a man, so this will sound it's stereotypical, sounds sexist, but I think it still happens in many households. The woman usually does most of the cooking. We're outsourcing, absconding our responsibility and passing over to somebody else. Take charge of the food. Yes, take responsibility for that shopping list. Plan your meals. Maybe get involved more with the cooking, the meal prep as well. Prepare your meals. So if you need lunch at work, prep it in the morning, take it with you. Batch cook, plan ahead.
Yeah. And that's actually, I just want to take a second and dwell on that for the moment, because I can't stress enough how the ability to cook for yourself is one of the most important life skills that you can learn.
And you don't need to be a Michelin star chef.
No, not at all. Yeah.
Boil an egg, cook some chicken breast in an air fryer, chuck it in a Tupperware tub. You can take some raw carrots with you, boiled eggs, keep in their shells in a Tupperware that you can take to work. You peel them with a couple of carrots, have some oranges or some apples with that as well. Great. So it doesn't need to be complicated with food.
No,
There's nothing to say that you can't have steak and eggs for breakfast.
In fact, steak and eggs for breakfast would probably, arguably, at least from my perspective, be better for you than your cornflakes or your all-bran flakes or whatever other cereal nonsense people tend to like.
Let's look at desserts. Let's look at cereal. They're more akin to a dessert. They're rammed full of sugar. All right. Yeah. You're an adult. You need proper food in you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Set yourself up for the day with a good breakfast. Forget the Pop-Tarts are no longer kind of a thing, really, are they?
Yeah,
but
no.
Even a piece of toast or jumping in the car and getting something from Starbucks on the way. But guys, men and women out on the road, what do we do? Yeah, I'll go and get a coffee from the petrol garage. But what do we do with that? It's the chocolate bar and the packet crisps that go with it.
Yeah, man, that's atrocious. That's not nutrition.
Yeah. So I think being healthy, genuinely healthy, and it's not just about looking at it's not just about metabolic health, it's all and it's not just simply about having a good blood test result, it's everything here.
Yeah, it's the whole picture. And I think winding that back, so for someone who's watching this and wants to start to incorporate movement, I think what we're getting at is A, get your mindset right, because it's not about you're going to go from zero to hero overnight and magically make up for all the years that you've done nothing. It's a case of this is a foundational part of what should be in your lifestyle. You need to understand that it's a lifelong journey that you're about to embark on. There should be something that is incorporated into the fabric of what makes you you and how you structure your life. And you need to figure out how that looks to suit you. But it should be something that you incorporate daily. Non-exercise movement, going for your walk, getting as much movement as possible without it being overly strenuous is an important part of everyone's life, whether you're an athlete or not. And then having structured exercise, because in our modern day and age, we've outsourced as much of our movements as humanly possible, and we're incredibly convenience focused. We've taken the struggle out of life, and we now have to incorporate exercise to make sure that our body is still getting that foundational input that it needs. So get assessments done, understand where you're starting from, work with someone who can hold you to a standard and help you achieve the standard, and then set incremental improvements as you move forward. Because again, it's a lifelong journey. It's not a short-term plan to hit beach body status so that you could go on holiday and then fall back into old patterns, because all you're going to do then is yo-yo and end up doing yourself a bit of an injustice.
Yes. And it's also about that accountability piece as well, working with somebody it's not just about the support, it's a little bit of a carrot and a stick as well, depending upon the flex there. But are you going to fall off the wagon at some point? Absolutely. So it's also having somebody that knows how to pick you up and help you get back on that wagon.
Yeah.
And so many people see, particularly with exercise and nutrition, diets, as a stop-start journey. And don't look at it as, look, when life gets easier, when life becomes quieter, look, I just need to get this project out of the way at work. When the kids, life settles down with the kids, or come January, or when dad gets out the hospital, life is always going to throw you curveballs.
Yeah.
If you start when it's quiet, when life gets busy again, you will stop again.
Yeah.
So the best time to start is when it's busy, because when life gets easier, it'll be easier, but you'll also then have the tools and the resources to continue when life throws you another curveball and gets busier.
Yeah.
Yes. So having that ability to start now when it's busy and not procrastinating and putting it off is essential. Because again, this is for life. It's not just another 12-week push or beach body holiday type of event. And when you look at it long term as well, all of a sudden getting leaner, getting more mobile, getting fitter becomes easier as well. Rather than nobody ever got really fit in 12 weeks. Get fitter. Nobody ever got strong in 12 weeks. This is a long journey. We're talking years and years and years and years. Okay. But your career, your position, your seniority took years and years and years in the making.
Correct. Yeah.
Didn't happen overnight, didn't happen in 12 weeks. But with fitness and our health, we take the same approach. So I want to move away from these 12-week challenges, 75 days of hard or what have you. View it long term.
Yeah.
View it like a pension as you do your financial pension. It's an investment into yourself in the future.
I like that. Toby, I think we can probably wrap up there. It's been a fantastic series. I've enjoyed doing it with you, and I'm pretty sure the audience will be getting a lot out of it. I'm going to ask you, we've done 3 episodes, so I'm going to ask you for 3 key takeaways. The 3 key things to get someone started, to start incorporating movement appropriately in their life.
Okay, 3 takeaways. Get an assessment, raise your standards, be responsible for your own physiology and your own health.
Awesome. I like it. Yeah, I particularly like the last one. I posted yesterday. I met up with a good man, Dale Atkinson. People can look him up on LinkedIn. Connected with him. I think he's fantastic. And the thing that stood out to me the most about him is his deliberate decision to seize agency in his own life. Dale's facing, and I'll let him tell his own story, so I won't repeat it here, but he is facing life circumstances that would wipe most people for 6, completely destroy them. And what he's done in response to that is accept that, well, the agency is his. No one's coming to rescue him. No one's able to do it on his behalf. He needs to do it for himself with all the right support in place, and he needs to seek out the support that he needs, which is done, which is fantastic. But the thing that really stood out was he's made that decision to seize agency, and I can't stress enough how important that is for everyone in our everyday lives, is just to accept the fact that you have agency over your movement. You have agency over your nutrition. You have agency over your sleep. You have agency over your stress management. It's yours to sort out. No one can do it for you.
Own it.
You need to take responsibility.
And we can all make the excuses, that old injury, I've got this condition. Well, there's always somebody worse off than you.
Yeah, I've been ACL deficient for over 2 decades, and I'm still doing it.
Paralympic Games, the Invictus Games, all these, their backstories of these athletes are incredible, and yet you're complaining because you've got a bit of an arthritic knee, or you've got a back from 10 years ago. Own it. Stop making excuses. Rise to the occasion.
Perfect stuff. Toby, thank you very much. It's been fantastic, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching the episode. I hope that you found the conversation meaningful and informative, and I hope that it has empowered you with some tools and insights that you can take to tweak and improve your own lifestyle approach in pursuit of optimal metabolic health outcomes. If you've enjoyed the episode, and if you're enjoying the podcast, I'd like you to do me the kindness of please subscribing to the channel, giving it a like, maybe even giving it a share. Help to raise awareness and get the podcast in front of as many viewers as possible, because it is my passion to try and help as many people as possible to understand more of the nuance around metabolic health and how to tweak their lifestyle in pursuit of optimal outcomes. Also, if you have any constructive feedback, things that you think I could improve on, any critiques, any criticisms, please do feed them back. I give you my solemn word that I will take them seriously, and I will, to the best of my ability, work to improve and to give you a more refined and more targeted product as a result of your feedback. So I will take it seriously, and I'll do what I can to improve the show. But again, thank you very much for watching. Keep thriving.